Well, hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. I'm your host, Sharon Vornholt, and I'm so happy you're tuning in today. My guest today is David Wachs, the founder of Handwritten. Handwritten is a company that's found a way to bring back the lost art of letter writing through scalable, robot-based solutions that write notes in pen, which make it virtually indistinguishable from actual handwritten notes. This platform will let you send notes right from your CRM, your website, from apps, or other custom integrations. This technology is currently being used by major brands that we all know and trust. So I'm excited for you to hear about this. So welcome to the show, David.
Thank you so much for having me, Sharon.
Well, I've been looking forward to this show because I am very passionate about marketing, in particular about ways to finding ways to stand out and be different from everybody else. I've always kind of honed in on that. And I've also always been a big believer in sending handwritten notes. So I'm anxious to talk about this because that's never been a scalable thing. But first, I want to start out by having you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you got started in this business.
Yeah, so my name is David Wachs. I've been an entrepreneur since 2004 when I started my first venture, which was a company also in the real estate space called Sell It. We had a product called House for Sell. This was before the iPhone came out. And real estate investors and new home buyers were trying to find information on houses, of course, before the bubble burst. And they would drive by the houses and they'd see an empty flyer box hanging from the writer from the sign. And they'd want info on the house. They'd call the realtor wouldn't get back. So we thought, geez, there has to be a better way. So we invented this service where you could text in for info on the property. You would get a text of 2 text messages back worth of information, and then you'd actually be able to reply with your email or fax number, to show you how old this is, to get more information emailed or faxed to you directly. So that business grew, not so much in the real estate space, but quickly pivoted to retailers. So we had Abercrombie and Fitch, Toys R Us, Sam's Club, Office Max, For Rent Media, which is For Rent Magazine, if you remember that, Auto Trader, a number of others. We were sending over 1 million messages a day on behalf of these companies. And then I sold that company in 2012 and worked for the new owners until 2014, at which time I was a free man again, and I wanted to do something new and different. But for whatever reason, I ended up in the messaging space, first text messaging. And then I thought, gee, I've created a real problem here. Or I've been part of a problem where everything has gone digital. Everything is a text, an email, a tweet, a Slack, a Teams message, et cetera. And it's all just noise. In fact, the average office worker spends about 24% of their time managing their inbox. They get about 135, 140 emails a day on average. So it's just a real task to sit there and hit delete. People don't even have the time to read the messages. They're too busy deleting them. So I thought, gee, if I could find a way to stand out, how could I do that? And I looked around my office and I realized I had handwritten notes saved in my office, on display in my office. And I realized that I was not unique, that others did the same thing. Not only do you read a handwritten note, but you put it on display and you treasure it. So I thought, okay, well, I'm too lazy to sit there and write thousands of handwritten notes. What can I do to automate it? And that's what we've done over the last 8 years. We've really automated the handwritten note. We now design and build our own robot. We have 175 of these robots in our facility. Each robot holds a real pen. It's a Pilot G2 ballpoint pen. We have our own digital press, so we can design custom stationery for you with your logo, your name, your photos, etc. It comes off our digital press, just like we're Alpha Graphics or whomever else, Kinko's. We then cut those cards to size. We write on them with real ballpoint pen, put them in a nice envelope, write on the envelope, put a real stamp on it, and mail it and send it on its way. So we are the largest company doing this in the world. On a good day, we'll do 10,000 pieces. So certainly not the million that I was doing at text messaging, but it's a different animal.
Well, this is and by the way, I do remember that service that you had, the first one you talked about. I see, I've
Yeah,
been around a while too. I remember that one, and I remember the empty flyer boxes on the
sure.
signs too. So, when it comes to real estate investing, this business is generally a one-off transaction. We're looking for a house, then we go to a different house, et cetera. However, we often follow up with these folks for a very long time before we get the deal. In
Mhm.
fact, there's a statistic that says as many as 80% of your deals will come from follow up, which is a
Yeah,
huge number. And that's where people fall down. So I can see a case where you would use this on the front end, but for in my particular business, this would be a case where you could integrate this with other types of follow up and be different for sure.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. What's old is new again, right? And,
Mhm.
and the most vacant or the most poorly used inbox is the actual inbox. It's the mail inbox. Before the show, we were chatting. I was telling you, I have a friend in Illinois who's looking to buy a new house. And I'm not sure if he's looking to live in it or rent it, to invest with it. But the market's so tight there, as it is everywhere, that there's nothing on the market. So he thought he could use our service to send out handwritten notes to drum up interest, or to find prospective sellers. So he
Mhm.
tested it, and this is a bit ridiculous, but he tested with one handwritten note to one person, and he actually got a call back. So I told him to immediately stop and save that 100% effective rate stat and not go from there. But in actuality, it's true. This really does stand out. Handwritten notes, or handwritten envelopes rather, have a 300% higher open rate than a printed envelope, a 3 times higher open rate than a printed envelope. And then a handwritten card has a 27-time greater response rate than a printed card, at least in certain industries. We tested this actually with automotive dealers that send you print pieces to try to get you in to trade up your car. And when they send a print piece versus a handwritten note, they get a 27-time greater response rate with that handwritten note. So it is certainly not the cheapest tool in your toolbox. A email is going to be cheaper. A text message is going to be cheaper. By the way, to all your listeners who are sending me text messages every day asking me if I want to sell my house, I wish you'd stop. But but if you're willing to spend a few extra dollars to do a campaign that actually breaks through the clutter, I highly recommend sitting down and writing handwritten notes or using a service such as Handwritten to do it for you.
It's so interesting that you say that because I have specialized in the niche of probates since 2008. And one of the things that I have preached that I teach is to send to handwritten envelope, a personalized handwritten envelope. And to your point of getting it opened, that's
Mhm.
what gets your mail opened. It's amazing. Now, there was a time many years ago when we actually did that, had somebody in the office addressing each one of those envelopes. But with now you can get that process automated, but it definitely makes a big difference in getting the mail opened, which you have to get it open before you can ever get any result out of it at all.
Of
That's the
course.
thing.
Yep, that's step one, right? So
Step
yeah,
one.
yeah, and it's I've drank the Kool-Aid on this. It absolutely does work.
Mhm. Let me ask you this. In a world where everything is automated, the customer experience often gets lost in the process, in my opinion. But I know that from experience that the customer experience is one of the most important components of the success of any business. So, how does your company help the customers with the customer experience?
Well, it's exactly that. Everything is automated these days, but
Mhm.
the unique feature of our service, or if you were to sit down and send an actual handwritten note, is that it doesn't feel automated. When you receive a
Mhm.
note from us, and I don't want this to be an advert for handwritten. It's really, I want to talk about the power of the handwritten note. But when you receive a handwritten note from us, you cannot tell it's written by a robot. First of all, it's written in pen, so the ink smudges. Second of all, we vary the margins on the left. So every line starts at a little different part. It's not like there's a hard line down the left as if it was printed.
Mhm.
And then every line, the spacing between lines varies. So it's not like all the lines are perfectly written like you're on lined paper. And then the characters vary. So two A's look different, two B's, how we cross two T's with one crossbar or connect two O's, all that's taken care of. And now in the last week, we actually bend each line of text very slightly, subtly, but we bend the text so that it even looks more real. It's not following straight lines, across the page. So we do all this to make the most authentic looking personal piece. And where we live in a world where everything is automated, emails are automated. You could receive the most personalized email in the world and you'll know that it was sent by an algorithm. But the handwritten note can fool you and can, even if they know it's automated, which they won't with our service, the time it takes you to think, gee, I'm going to reach out to this person in a different way. I'm going to create a quote unquote unboxing experience by having them open up the envelope, having them open up this pretty card and look inside and see what's in there. I think it really sets people apart. You're not just doing the same old that everybody else is. So I really, this is all about customer experience. Most of the podcasts I appear on are about customer experience. So you hit the nail on the head there.
It's so important because in my business, we're in the business of buying houses. I mean, we help people solve problems that involve property. So if you look across all real estate investors, we all do pretty much the same thing, but it's about the marketing, the touches with the customer experience that make them remember you at the end of the day. And in the case of probates, they may not sell the property for 6, 8 months or a year, but we're marketing to them on the front end because you build rapport. You give them a customer experience that basically says, I'm here when you're ready.
Yeah.
But I know that is so important, where people often go right to the sale or right to the end result that they want. And you just can't jump the middle. You can't skip the middle part.
Absolutely. Handwritten notes, like I said earlier, not only do they get read, but they get treasured. And I know this is an unrelated example, but you'll see where I'm going here. We have a piano tuner based in Pennsylvania that uses our service, and he sends an automated thank you after tuning your piano to his customers. You only need to tune a piano once a year. So he's only in your house once a year. He has one opportunity to make a good impression. By following up with that handwritten note, when he appears in your house the following year, that handwritten note is often standing up on the piano. That's real estate you absolutely cannot buy. You can't buy the fancy room of the house on the prized possession in the house, the piano. And if he were to send a text message, would that text message be screenshotted and printed out and scotch taped to the piano? If he sent an email, would that email get printed out and folded up and stood up on the piano? Probably not. But a handwritten note is put on display because it's so lovely. So by sending these handwritten notes, you're not making one touch point. You're making potentially 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year of touch points, because people will keep them and they stand up. They literally stand up on your desk. They're folded, so they'll stand up on your desk. So or if they have a non-stainless steel refrigerator, they'll stick them to their fridge. So this is not a single impression you're making. You're making impressions that stand over time, potentially, if people hold on to them.
Well, that's certainly true for me. It's so rare to get a handwritten note. I always keep them. They're in a drawer for the most part. But whenever I get in that drawer, periodically I look at them, and it makes me remember, or makes me think back to that person or that experience or that company, whomever sent me the note. So if someone were to say, David, if I do this, how will this help me grow my business? What's your answer to that?
Well, I think in your case, you will absolutely get more off-market deals. In probate, I think your conversion rate will go substantially higher I'm not familiar with the industry, but the cost of these cards tends to be in volume in the low $3, including postage. So it's certainly going to be more expensive than a junk mail piece or an email, but $3 when you figure the price of the house is however much is a relatively small purchase price. So I think the ROI will certainly be there. Your conversion rate should, I can't promise anything in that respect, but your conversion rate should go up, and certainly your open rate, your mail open rate will go up. So I think, I think it's certainly worth a test. As I mentioned, my friend in Chicago that did it sent one, got a call, so it's worth just doing a small test to see if this would work for your demo, for your market.
Where I can see this being useful is we talked a little bit, as you said before the show, if you're sending out thousands of direct mail pieces, you're going to get a certain response to those pieces, and the people that respond to you, I think it would be especially helpful to send them something different. So you get a certain percentage of people that respond, and then to follow up with them, and then maybe even at some point do a test of a bigger number. But certainly, I think it would be a tipping point for some people. Hey, wait a minute, I got a letter, but now I've talked to them and I've gotten this different response. I can see them keeping that. Business cards tend to get lost. I used to send a business card every time, and that was a waste of time. So I kind of went to a system where I sent one in the first letter and then maybe in 6 months. And certainly if they told me, no, I don't like your offer, then I sent them a handwritten thank you note. And I put my business card thanking them for considering my offer.
Yeah.
And then knowing they probably threw the other business card away, I sent another business card with the note, which seemed to actually work pretty well from a follow-up standpoint. But I can see where you could segue this in with your regular marketing, and where there would be it's a way to differentiate you from everybody else, because everybody else isn't doing this.
Right. I completely agree. You have to have a multimodal approach to your marketing where you hit with different types of touch points, whether it's print, handwritten notes, emails, whatever that is, door knocking, whatever you're doing to get those leads. I think you have to, you have to have a portfolio of options available of ways to spread the word, basically.
You touched on the texting people about their houses, which I don't like that as a first touch ever. I think if you're communicating with people today, let's say, for instance, maybe you've looked at the property, then I can see that you could text them for a follow-up. But I personally hate the first touch text. Certainly with people in a state that have an estate, they don't want you to text them. They don't want you to knock on their door or call them on the phone. Right. That is way too bold for the situation they're in. So
I'm sorry. It's also illegal. Sending unsolicited commercial texts like that. That's in violation. I know this because I worked in the text messaging business before. It's in violation of the TCPA for all your listeners that are contemplating doing it, and that carries a $500 to $750 fine per incident, which means if you send out 10,000 texts or 1,000 texts, let's just say 1,000 texts, at minimum, that could be a $500,000 fine. So I just would recommend against it.
No, true. And this business is, and I know it's about relationships. You don't build a relationship through a text. So let me play devil's advocate here for a minute. If you have let me ask this question differently. Is there a perfect mix of digital and more hands-on marketing and follow-up like notes? What do you say to people when they say, this is old school? We talked about direct mail is old school. Notes, handwritten notes are old school. So how do you marry the two with digital and more hands-on marketing follow-up type things?
So I don't have a perfect example. I think you need to test in your market in particular. For instance, I'll give you two examples. neither of which is perfect. One is in the medical space. We have some hospitals that are trying to reach out to patients to organize follow-ups for Medicare procedures, your annual physical or whatever it is. Sending a printed piece, sending an email won't get through. They don't check email. Sending a printed piece might fall in the clutter of junk mail. So they've resorted to handwritten notes because they know that appeals to the older buyer. If you're doing something with estate sales, anything like that, perhaps doing something that appeals to an older buyer, quote unquote, old school, might work. On the conversely, on the very young side, we have a client, a customer that sends out vinyl records, old school vinyl records. These records aren't going to 50-year-olds that looking to increase their collection. They're going to 20-somethings that think vinyl is hip and cool. What goes better with a cool vinyl record but a handwritten note? Not only are these handwritten notes getting read, they're getting Instagrammed and tweeted and posted to social channels because they think it's so hip and cool that they got a note from the company, which is called Vinyl. So, what is old is new again, I'd say. And when everybody pivots left, try pivoting right to stand out.
Yeah. Yeah. When everybody zigs, you want to zag. Yeah.
Exactly.
So what opportunities exist? Let's say you're just starting out. Is there an advantage to using handwritten notes if you're a budding entrepreneur, or should you integrate that into a more focused and broader marketing strategy for your business?
I think it should be part of a broader strategy. I think as a budding entrepreneur, you need to test multiple channels and develop a portfolio of multiple touch points. But what you can do is, if you wanted to work with us, we could, we could send handwritten notes to every address in a zip code or which could get quite expensive, or we could try to filter that and remove new, change of addresses. So remove people that have recently moved there and try to filter out all those. So you're just talking about people that have been there a while. We could do that. There's opportunities to just send them on a drip basis to your existing contact base through integrating with your CRM system or uploading Excel spreadsheets. But what I really want to urge, and what I go on podcasts talking about, is this does not need to be an expensive undertaking. It could be you and a couple of your friends writing handwritten notes. I'm really here to talk about the power of that, not the power of my company. So please do yourself a favor, sit down one night in front of the television and just send to 20 houses in your neighborhood handwritten notes and see what response works, what response you get back. And if it works, then involve a company such as Handwritten or one of our competitors and see if we can help you scale that if you're seeing an ROI from it. Because if you're seeing an ROI, why not go for it? It's generating money for you.
Let's talk a minute, just touch on pricing. So help me understand. Obviously, your big brands can spend a lot of money on this sort of thing. Yeah. What if you're more of a small business? How does a small business fit into this as far as the numbers you need to send, that sort of thing? Do you have a minimum, or how does that work?
Yeah, so our minimum is one. You can send one card with us for $3.25 plus postage. So stamps are now 58 cents. So it's $3.83 after postage. There's multiple ways to get a discount. So number one is to do a big bulk send at once. You just go on our website, upload a bulk. If you do that, you'll see the tiered pricing, but it could go down 10 or 20% just by doing that. The other way to get a discount is to subscribe. If you plan on sending 10 cards a month or 25 or 50 cards a month, you can subscribe to one of our plans and we'll give you a great discount for that, because we love to see continual users. And then finally, if you want to prepay for like 5,000 cards or 10,000 cards, you can get huge discounts. You have to call us for that. If you go to handwritten.com, handwritten.com/pricing, or just go to the top and click pricing, you'll see all those options. It's all laid out. We don't keep pricing behind a curtain. You can go on our website and see all those options right there.
Okay, so I was going to ask you that what the best way for folks to get in touch with you was. So that's it. And I'll put that into the show notes as well so that folks can refer back to the show and be sure and check it out. So, David, what final advice do you have for entrepreneurs when it comes to building a brand that stands out from the rest of their competitors? We've touched on this a little bit, but I want people to really understand that different is better than better.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
all day long. Different is better than better. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I completely agree. I think you need to zag when others zig. It's the only, if you want to stand out, that's exactly how you do it. You do something different than everybody else is doing. And you also are diligent, and you make marketing part of your you make it a habit. You don't do it on a one-off basis then move on. So often we have a problem with investors and realtors where they come, they try it, they like it, it works, and then we never hear from them again. And if they come, they like it, they try it and it works, why wouldn't you do it again? And the answer is they're lazy, or they've got other priorities. So you really have to be diligent and find whatever works and make it a habit, and take the time to do it, or hire an assistant to do it, or automate it through a platform like ours. So it's really about that diligence and that curiosity of experimenting and finding something that works unique to you.
And folks that know me know that I preach having a written marketing plan. And that would be like, order your notes from Handwritten on the first Monday of the month, or send your direct mail, or attend your networking in the real estate world. Real estate is all about relationships, like many businesses. So whatever that looks like for you, get a calendar, put it down month over month, because you cannot do a test of anything for less than 6 months to a year.
Exactly.
You're not going to know. A year is best, but certainly no less than 6 months. And folks, stop by David's website, handwritten.com, and it's WRYTTEN. And he has a free sample kit. If you're not sure if this is for you, then check it out. I did some work. I went on his website and looked at the different handwriting samples, and I can tell you that they look very real. You'll find one that appeals to you, like maybe you would write, maybe you wrote it, or it looks like something that you would open it does look real, like David said. And I didn't know all the little idiosyncrasies, but it does not look like it was written by a machine. I can tell you that for sure. So anything you want to add to that, David?
Yeah, I would say absolutely get the sample kit, because sometimes it gets lost in the little images we have on our website, especially the sample images. But when you receive the kit yourself, you'll also get the benefit of some of those images haven't been updated now that we bend the text. So the biggest critique was always, oh, well, the text is too straight on the line. Well, no, it's not that way anymore. So please request a free sample kit and see for yourself. There's no harm, no foul in doing that.
Yes, I got mine, folks. You should get yours. Well, thanks again, David, for coming on the show. This was a very interesting topic. I love marketing. I love branding. And this is just one more way to stand out from your competition. And as always, I want to thank all the listeners for coming out today, for coming out week after week. And please leave us a rating and a review over on iTunes. It helps people to find us, and I would really appreciate it. In the meantime, I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye for now. Thanks again, David.
Thank you.